Alright, so how does poverty influence learning? People in poverty are diverse as people in any other socioeconomic class. They present like other groups, a wide array of values, beliefs, dispositions, experience, backgrounds, and life chances. As educators, in order to be responsive to the needs of our students, it is helpful to consider the constraints that poverty often places on people's lives, particularly children's, and how such conditions influence learning and academic achievement. Poverty affects intervening factors that in turn affect outcomes for people. These factors include students' health and well-being, literacy and language development, and access to physical and material resources and level of mobility. So let's go on and discuss health and well-being. Which one of you would like to go over that one?
I'll do it.
Okay.
These factors are interrelated, and one factor can compound another. For instance, substandard housing, inadequate medical care, and poor nutrition can affect the rate of childhood disease, premature births, and low birth weights, all of which affect the child's physical and cognitive development. Such factors influence students' ability to benefit from schooling. Living in daily economic hardship can also adversely affect students' mental health, self-efficiency, self-image, and motivation to do well in school.
Language and literacy development. Children who live in poverty often come to school behind their more affluent peers in terms of literacy and language development. In Educating the Other Americas, Susan Newman, 2008, states that more than 50 years of research indicate that children who are poor hear a smaller number of words with more limited syntactic complexity and fewer conversation
eliciting
questions, making it difficult for them to quickly acquire new words and to discriminate among words. A significant body of literature also points to differences in access to reading materials by students from low-income families in comparison to their more affluent peers, Allington and McGill, Franzen, 2008.
Material resources. Poverty often places constraints on the family's ability to provide other material resources for the children as well. For example, they may have limited access to high-quality daycare, limited access to before or after school care, limited space in their homes to create a private or quiet environment conducive to study. They may not own a computer or have the physical resources necessary to complete out-of-class projects. Mobility.
Sure. Poverty often places another kind of constraint on families, the ability to provide stable housing. Students often move from one location to another because their parents are in search of work or are dealing with other issues that require them to move. Frequent moves almost always have a negative academic and social impact on students. Much is known about the far-reaching influence of poverty on a student's learning. An understanding of these factors provide invaluable knowledge to educators in their efforts to support and teach students who live in poverty. In high-poverty, high-performing schools, this knowledge does not result in lowered expectations for students living in poverty. To the contrary, it leads to empathy and an understanding of the differentiation, scaffolding, and support that students may need to meet high expectations. Like high-poverty, high-performing schools, any school that enrolls students who live in poverty should seek to acquire as much understanding as possible about the life circumstances of their students. When children and adolescents know that their teachers care about them and are trying their best to relate to the realities of their lives, they become far more inclined to trust and actively engage in learning.
Great, good job, girls. So some of the issues that we discussed or read about for poverty affecting schools are health and well-being, language and literacy development, the lack of material resources, and mobility. So if you guys can go ahead and use this piece of paper and go ahead and give me some ideas of how maybe we can address these issues in the school setting. So it can be something that a teacher can do, it can be something that a school counselor can do, maybe the student body or principal, anybody. So a few things that were discussed for the health and well-being was poor nutrition, medical care, economic hardship, mental health, also the lack of language development, the material resources, maybe lack of daycare, before or after school care. What about for those siblings that have to like rush home to take care of their little brothers and sisters and cannot stay after school to receive some type of assistance, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has happened before. I know you had to do that before, where you had to go home and like take care of your little brothers and stuff. And I'm sure you're not the only one in school. And then we also have the lack of material resources. A lot of students don't have computers at home or internet access. And then we also have the instability when it comes to like housing. We have a lot of students who live in shelters or their parents are constantly moving, living at hotels. Towards the end of the article, it also said, when children and adolescents know that their teachers care about them and are trying their best to relate to the realities of their lives, they become far more inclined to trust and actively engage in learning. Do you guys think that that's true?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then if you guys can just give me like a reason why you guys would think that that is true.
I think that's true because then they feel more like comfortable with the teacher. Like the bigger, like if the teacher is like unapproachable, you're obviously not gonna want to go up to them and talk to them, and especially not like share like personal information. But if the teacher is like more open and you have like a better relationship with them, then the student probably feels like more comfortable sharing certain things.
And do you agree?
I agree.
Yeah. What would you say?
Well, basically that just goes for like everybody in general too. Like, just make it comfortable to the point where like a student can feel like they can trust the adult that they're like addressing the issues to, and so that way if they need help, then maybe the teacher or whoever it is that the child is talking to can come to them and ask for their help and advice.
Okay. So what are some ideas that you guys came up with addressing poverty issues in the school setting?
I said like take home lunches, like when you talk about like they can't get food or something.
Okay, so what do you mean by like take home lunches?
Like just like for certain like kids that actually need it, just like an extra lunch. Because I know like school they have a lot of extra food. Like,
right,
all
and
the
it gets
time.
tossed out,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there should be like a section like instead of like kids that get like melts and stuff that they don't even open, just throw away. There should be like a section with like all the leftover food, and then kids can get from that and take it home
after school.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. That's a very good idea.
And then like financial like
yeah,
aid,
I've seen situations where the only meal that the students have had is their meal at school, their lunch at school, and that's probably the only meal that they ever get.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good idea.
I feel like for like the poverty, like due to like money and stuff, for kids that can't afford like the materials they need for school, maybe teachers can come up with a way of where they can like pitch in money to like buy some school stuff, like school supplies for students who actually do need it. And I don't know, maybe like students can sign like a waiver for like if they can't afford the school thing, like the back to school supplies that they actually need.
Okay. So maybe like start like a fundraiser to see if we can have people gather up some money for that. That's a good idea. What about what would you guys say about not having access to a computer or access to internet? What is a way that you guys can say that, for example, like if that was you guys at home and you guys didn't have a computer or didn't have access to the internet, how would you guys complete your assignments? what is something that you guys would do to make sure that you guys are not falling off?
I feel like the student can talk to the teacher, and the teacher can try and figure out like a time that's good for the student to be able to work on it, on the assignment after school, or maybe during school, like at lunch or something, or on their breaks or before school, so that way they can get the access that they need to finish the assignment and get it done just like everybody else.
Okay. And you?
I said like other options that don't include like electronic submissions, because I know like for my school we like do everything electronically, and it could be like small things where it's like submit this paragraph like online, which is stuff like you could handwrite. So instead they can just like, oh, can I just like write it out? Or there's always like libraries, like public places that have Wi-Fi and stuff like that.
Right. Great use of resources. So if there was one thing that you guys can do to change the poverty in the school setting, what is something that you would do?
There's like a lot of things that you can do, but I feel like maybe just trying to like reach out to people and just see like if you can gather people to help out with like the poverty and see what you guys can all do, and like just pitch in ideas.
So maybe like a whole school setting, like
Yeah.
a workshop or something, like an informational night to let all families know what is the issues that are going on. And
Like
how to
address
assist the
them of
students.
what's happening.
Got it. And you? What would be?
I feel like like one of the problems too is that like kids kind of feel like embarrassed of it. It's like like they won't be like socially accepted. So I feel like there should be a way that they can like tell people, because I know sometimes it's hard to get your teacher alone. So there should be like something like a box in their room where they can just write something and put it in the box just to let them know, or like email or something like that.
Right.
That like explains their situation.
Or they can do it discreetly too.
Yeah.
Like they can pass out papers.
Like
and then-
anonymously, just kind of
Yeah.
write something and then turn it in. Having a box outside, yeah, that's actually a really good suggestion. Well, thank you, ladies. All these suggestions and ideas were really great. I'm so glad that you guys are understanding what the poverty issue in the school